Netflix release for this week. The title I will never remember. I've been looking at
That's a
this
tough
title
one.
for, yeah, Leave the World Behind. I've been
Oh,
trying to
nice.
remember this all week, and every time I have to say it, I don't remember what it is. All right, Zach, you're starting this one.
Okay, Leave the World Behind is the movie by Sam Esmail, who I guess is behind the series Mr. Robot. I've never seen Mr. Robot, but obviously that's a big hit. The film stars Julia Roberts, who is a producer on the film, along with Barack and Michelle Obama. Interesting. If Elton Brand can produce movies, then Obama should be able to do so too. Ethan Hawke is in this movie. Mahershala Ali, Mahala, and Kevin Bacon are in it, and then they have 2 kids. I don't know what their names are in real life, but the movie starts out as a portrait of the family of Ethan Hawke and Julia Roberts. They are wealthy New Yorkers who are very involved in their work, and Julia Roberts opines that couldn't things just be simpler, and so she signs up for I think an Airbnb where they travel for the weekend, and things get ominous relatively quickly, although it's innocuous to start, but there's clues that something weird is going on. For example, there's an oil tanker on the beach that seems to be getting closer and closer to them. There are some weird noises and animal movements. And then suddenly in the middle of the night, Mahershala Ali and his daughter show up saying that they are the owners of the house and they need to seek refuge because there is a big blackout in New York City. And no one is able to communicate. And this kind of odd group is forced to coexist in these days of a not too un-COVID-like incident that the rest of the world seems to be shutting down, even though they seem to be really close to New York City. I mean, there are times when they look out on the water and they can see the skyline from New York City. So I'm not sure why it seems so difficult to get back to civilization in this movie, but whatever. So the movie has an interesting setup because Julia Roberts is racist, shall we say, or at least has some severe bias that she has, implicit bias about Mahershala Ali. She doesn't really believe that he owns the house, and she thinks that his presence could be dangerous to the kids. Of course, that's proven faulty because there's much more danger in the world around them. I thought the best parts of this movie were the exchanges between Julia Roberts and Mahershala Ali. I could believe those characters. I thought it was an interesting kind of trajectory that those characters go on. I thought that this movie could have worked maybe better had it been set entirely inside the house. Now, for the most part, it is inside the house, but I felt like the scenes outside the house almost felt like they were maybe demanded by the studio. I'm not sure. Again, just for the sake of trying to be more exciting. And so we get a lot of VFX shots, again, of, crazy shit happening. There's a plane crash at one point. There's, animals that disperse. The human story is the story that I wanted a little bit more development on. We get going with this movie. There's like a new crisis every 10 minutes that is completely inexplicable. I'm not going to say whether the movie does explain it or not, but I'm going to say that I'm going to give this movie thumbs down in part because of the lack of clear explanation. I think the movie is trying to say something about how when people are forced to cohabitate during traumatic events, they're maybe able to find humanity within each other or among each other. I think that's a good theme. I like that theme. I'm not sure this movie was totally committed to that theme because, again, it kind of just gets distracted by all these crises that happen over the course of the movie. We have to talk about Friends in this movie because Friends, the TV series Friends, plays a major part in the movie. I'm curious to see whether Todd and Terry are generous to this movie because of the mic drops for Friends or in spite of it. Because maybe, I don't know, it treats Friends badly. Anyway, it's interesting because Julia Roberts was, of course, in Friends, and there's no way they would have known about Matthew Perry's passing prior to this movie being released. 2 stars. I don't know. I'm not going to remember this movie in a couple months. I like seeing Julia Roberts back on the late night circuit. She was really funny on Jimmy Fallon, but this is a 2-star movie.
Yeah, I'll go next. I've got it at 2.5 for a lot of the same reasons. The characters are interesting, but you're right. It really doesn't know where it's going and what it's doing. And is it anything more than just a character study? You get the idea that it wants to be, but it doesn't know what to do with it. And the characters are, like I said, the characters are interesting. It's always good to see Mahershala Ali in anything. Ethan Hawke is doing his Ethan Hawke thing. In fact, he kind of felt like this is like Jesse from the Before series at some point, and this is what he's doing now. I was watching this last night with my wife, and like the him being on screen for like 5 minutes, she goes, "He's a humanities professor at a university," and then you find out that he actually was. It was fairly stereotypical in that way. Um, Julia Roberts was fine, but yeah, I was indifferent to the Friends. It was fine, but I feel like there was a better version of this movie that came out this year, and it was M. Night Shyamalan's Knock at the Cabin, where it actually contained itself in the house. You had the character study, but it also knew what it was doing and knew where it wanted to go and had some resolution to whatever was going on. And
Mhm.
this was just kind of throwing stuff out there. The visual effects were horrible, by the way. Just throwing stuff out there and hoping something stuck, but then not picking anything to end it with. Um, so, I mean, really, I probably shouldn't even be giving it 2.5 stars. But like I said, the character study parts were really interesting. But yeah, it needed to figure out what it wanted to do, and it never did anything with it. So I'll go 2.5, but I probably should be two with Zach. You know what? No, you know what? You're right. I'm going two. It's 2-star movie.
The movie has, I mean, Mr. Robot was a great TV show, and it has similar ideas, but that one's like more mysterious and kind of more intense. This one has interesting ideas, and they're like nonchalantly executed and only moderately successful. Like the ideas are there though. If it had been a series, I feel like it would have made it, given it room to more develop them and like to give the characters an idea of like why they do what they do, because you're just sort of thrown into the situation without any perspective, and you have to try to understand the motivations on the fly, which is hard because the protagonists are so outrageous. But oh, and the soundtrack is jarring. Like it totally thinks it's a Jordan Peele movie.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
it is intriguing to watch though. I mean, it's not really all that thrilling necessarily, or even like effective as a sci-fi movie, but it works in certain areas. Like I think Shyamalan actually needs to take note of this movie to how to direct really outrageous situations with unknowable characters, because he's terrible at doing that, and this actually is competent at it. But yeah, Terry said the visuals are terrible. They really are. They're all just bad green screen stuff, except for the scene with all the Teslas. Like that was insane. Like I really thought that image was cool. The explanations you get in the end are, I mean, similar to like the conspiracy theories it sort of floats in throughout the movie, are like lazy. Like it's pointing at things without any firm perspective and almost like fueling what it is trying to exploit. And it still makes no sense. Like, and it just dumps it all on you, and then it ends. And it should have ended actually with the shot that's like, I don't know, it's like emulating Fight Club, I think, when they're sort of looking at New York City. But instead, we get the daughter, who's of course as obsessed with Friends as Maude is with Lost and This Is 40 for whatever reason.
My comparison,
and there is this one quote that's like, if you're not, it says like, if you're not paranoid by now, then it's probably too late. And that's sort of all you need to know about the movie. It's just pretentious statements and implications that have no real substance. And it's a theme for a lot of movies recently. I'm at 2.5 stars because I do respect the balls for going there, and the director is talented. And I just can't give it the same rating as that stupid Shyamalan movie, which was undeniably worse than this. But and it was also, I must say, it was in my Best Picture predictions back in January, and I can confidently say this will not be nominated for any Oscars. But on paper, based on a big popular book, I thought it had a chance, but it doesn't.
All right, well, there we go. Okay, so Leave the World Behind, one that I had been kind of excited about because of who was in it. However, I feel like this is a completely style over substance film. I think that how it's shot is actually pretty well done. I thought the house was super interesting to be. I would like to spend more time in that house. It kind of reminded me of like the Knives Out house, how interesting the house was. I think we could have done a lot more there. I feel like the movie with Julia Roberts, I didn't really care for her. Like it made me not like her in this movie, which was
good for her for going there, because she usually plays such, likable characters, but she was really likable in here. The daughter, in my wife's words, was annoying because she was making choices she didn't like. I wouldn't be surprised if my wife actually put this in her top 10 of the year, because she was really engaged by the whole thing. But I was like, I'm more interested in how, like, the shots that the director's making, and more than the story. I think that it's more interesting to watch with the volume off than with the volume on. So, like, because it's just how it's pretty fascinating. It talks really good about why physical media is such a real thing that we should all get behind, because streaming services can go down or take stuff off like without a moment's notice, and we need that physical media. I also think that the over-reliance of cell phones and computers nowadays kind of get people, not even knowing how to read a map or go follow directions, because we're over reliant on technology. I think that's interesting. I'm also at 2 stars on here, but it's a 2 stars that I would see myself watching it again, but still, just there's stuff wrong with it that I don't care for. So I'm at 2 stars as well. It's not. I like the physical media stuff. I think that was my most interesting point. It reminded me quite, like, other than like List is 40, but Knowing, the Nicolas Cage Knowing movie, it kind of reminded me of that for some reason. I don't know why, but it had that like end of the world type of vibes to it without the aliens.
I had the same thought as you about the physical media stuff. And
Yeah.
like, as she's like, I can't watch the last episode. It's not, I can't get the internet. And like, see, this is why we need physical media.
Yeah.
And
Records
then when you at the end, when you have the shot of the physical media, did anybody else notice the first thing you see when
Easy
it zooms in?
Burn after reading.
Burn after reading. Thank you, Todd.
I saw. I mentioned. I saw.
It was right in the
EZA
center of the
first
screen.
It was.
Yeah.
It was.
That is true.
You said you would rewatch it. Do people actually rewatch movies on Netflix? Because I think the only movie I've watched twice on Netflix is The Irishman. Like I've never, like, all these movies that like we give 3 stars, 3.5 stars to, I've never watched another one of them again because I just have them.
Yeah.
It's like
outside of the kids movies that I always show the kids, like we just watched Jingle Jangle again last night because
oh god,
I really wanted to watch Family Switch again this week. I thought about it. I didn't have time.
Yeah, the only one I've watched again was a movie called Hush. It was one of my top 10 movies. It was about it was like a horror film. A guy breaking in, and she's mute and she can't hear. So that's also that was a fun one. But however, it's no longer on Netflix, and there's no physical copy of it anywhere. And people,
so there wasn't a Netflix original then.
But it's on an original, but it's nowhere to be found.
Mm-hmm.
Sitting somewhere.
So like a lot of Disney Plus original content, they took that off. They've been taking that shit off the last year. I was just going to add
Willow, the TV series.
Yeah, this movie has real recollections of not just Knock at the Cabin, but also Signs, The Happening, and there's a family on the beach like in Old. So I'm not sure why this wasn't directed by M. Night Shyamalan. And the Kevin Bacon character is a total M. Night Shyamalan character. I mean, that was channeling Shyamalan. I know why
that should have been the Shyamalan character. Yeah, like played.
He
by
should have been played exactly. Played by Shyamalan. Exactly. Yeah. It doesn't take place in Philadelphia. That's the only problem. But this is Shyamalan movie.
I thought it was in Philadelphia for a long time because he was wearing a hat that said 76 on it. So I thought it was the 76ers.
Oh.
I don't know.
He was wearing an old wasn't it an old Cowboys hat or something?
No, it was a star with the 76. I don't remember. Whatever. It doesn't matter.
Anyways, doesn't matter.
Pointless.
All right. So I believe, Todd, what did you say your star rating was again?
2.5.
2.5. All right. Either way, we're quad declined. 2 stars from me, Zach, and Adam. 2.5 from Todd. Yeah, I went back and looked at where I had him. Like, yeah, there's no way it belongs there. I probably
give it the half-star bump because Ethan Hawke is my guy.
Ethan Hawke is your guy.
This did go to the May December school of how to reveal like a big plot point by playing like little piano sounds. Because right when they said something, they're like, doo-doo-doo. They did the piano sounds, but it's not so loud this time.
Cue the soundtrack.
Yeah.
This is going to be the
let's find
a trivia question. Like, what movie did we review on that? We're not going to remember this movie at all. Like,
we might remember it exists. We will never remember the title. I guarantee that.
The title does not help.
Movie with
I
two
don't even
Oscar
think we could
winners.
use it as an immaculate grid answer. I think the next thing, Ethan Hawke, Julia Roberts. I don't know what the hell. I don't know. Lost. Yeah.